Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Debt Reduction Made Easy special training. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm really grateful to have you here. I know what it's like to be in debt, seriously in debt. It was my debt journey that got me to start doing this kind of work, which I'm going to share with you a little bit as we move forward today. I know how hard it is to throw your hand up and say, I need help, whether you got in debt suddenly, a job layoff, a business closed, something like that, like, oh my God, all of a sudden I don't have an income and I'm throwing a lot of my living expenses on my credit card and I don't know how to handle this, or whether it happens slowly, happens to people too. Your life expenses are just a little bit more than your income over time and you put more and more on that credit card. Most people don't get into credit card debt through frivolous expenditures. It's not where credit card debt comes from. Somebody goes on a big vacation and then can't pay it back. Most people get into credit card debt because the business model of their life stops working and suddenly it costs them more to live than they're making, and they start putting their utility bills or their food or their gas or their clothing or their rent on their credit card, which is not what credit cards were originally intended for. And so to throw your hand up in the air and say, I don't know how I got here and I need help getting out because the information I have out there isn't working for me. I'm so grateful that you found me. So thank you for taking time out of your morning to be here with me. I have a personal pet peeve about these kind of webinar things. I attend a lot of webinars. I have a whole company on leadership coaching and I'm an executive coach and I attend a lot of webinars and I learn a lot. And one of my pet peeves is that they say it's live when it's not live. And I don't mind if it's a recording. If I know it's a recording, I'm cool with it's a recording. I just don't like when they say it's live and it's recording. So I want to show you, you are really here with me today. I actually prepared this. I've got my phone here and it says right up there at the top, it is April 3rd. It is just past 9 o'clock in the morning here in Los Angeles. So you are live with me, Kenny Golde, the creator of Debt Reduction Made Easy right now. My other pet peeve on webinars is when they don't give you information. They come on and they say, this is the problem you have, which you know, because that's why you came to the webinar. And then they say, and we're going to help you solve that problem. And they don't. They just keep repeating that you have the problem. And they keep saying, wouldn't you like that to go away? And they keep repeating that you have the problem. And they say, wouldn't you like that to go away? And you sit there forever waiting for the information. I know that you have come here today for information. So this is my promise to you. You are going to get a ton of information. Whether you ultimately decide to join the Debt Reduction Made Easy program and let me help you get out of debt as quickly as possible and save as much money as possible or not, in your time here today, you are going to get a ton of information to help you feel more in control and powerful as you go through your own debt journey. So let's get started. In debt and with everything in life, this applies to everything you're ever going to do in life. You always have two choices. You can either keep doing what you've been doing. It's working a little bit, it's not working a little bit. Sometimes you're like, ooh, cool, results. And sometimes you're like, ooh, frustrated, no results. And just keep doing that. Or you can try something new. This is me coming to you today saying, I want to present something new to you that may help you get out of debt quicker and save you more money than what you have been doing. I am going to teach you in the Debt Reduction Made Easy program every secret your bank does not want you to know about reducing your credit card debt far faster and for far less than what you actually owe to them. And the reason it's a secret is because your bank does this. What I'm going to describe to you today is part of your bank, your credit card lender's business model. They just don't want you to know about it because they would prefer you to keep making that minimum monthly payment at full interest forever. We're going to go through how much that's actually going to cost you, then have you reduce your debt for less. But they all do it. This redacted is an actual client letter from one of my clients who reduced $26,000 debt to $9,000, and he got a particularly good deal. He didn't even have to pay the $9,000 up front. They took $200 a month. What's that? $2,400 a year for about 4 years. Interest stopped on the 26,000. He only had to pay 9,000 instead of 26,000, and he was able to pay it at $200 a month for 4 years to pay it off. These kind of things are possible. I hadn't seen that $200 a month for 4 year deal before, but 26 to 9, I see that often. I went through similar often. You're going to see a lot of client emails and settlement letters today that show just how common this is. You just need to know how to do it. You can save. I put up to 65% less. Look, I've had some clients get 90% off their debt. Others get really quick 40 or 45% offers off their debt. I have found through my personal experience and that of most of my readers and clients over the 15, 16 years that I've been doing this now, that a 35% settlement, 65% off your total is about the most reasonable number that is most often accomplished in a reasonable amount of time. I'm going to say 6 to 18 months. If you go longer than 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, you might get lower, you might not. If you go shorter than that, the settlement amount is going to be a little bit higher, but you could reasonably anticipate 65% off your total debt if you follow this program. Most of my readers and clients have landed somewhere around there. I do want to start with a little disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a bankruptcy expert. Debt Reduction Made Easy is based on my personal experience and those of my readers and clients who have reported back to me their experience over the years, all of the research that I have done into the banking industry and the credit card industry, but it is not intended to be a substitute for legal or financial advice. What I really recommend is you get all the information you do from me here today, and then you go talk to a bankruptcy attorney and say, hey, I learned all this. Is that valid? What do you think? Go talk to your accountant and say, hey, I learned all this. Is this real? What do you think? I do want you to trust me, but don't take my word for it. I'm not telling you to not go out into the world and vet what I say. I want to provide you with all the information, and then I want you to go vet it to the point where you're comfortable moving forward with it with professional advice. And then do have some client testimonials and videos in here today. I am required by law to tell you their unique experiences among those clients and individuals. Your results will vary because your debt situation is unique to you and you are unique to you. And whatever methodology you embody as you go through it is going to affect your results depending on how rigorous you do it or not rigorous. So your results will vary. However, the testimonials and emails that you read today are real and actual real client results, which are not unusual for my clients. I should say it that way. Who is this for? What we're going to go through today. It is for anyone who is struggling with credit card debt. And by struggling, I mean not only are the finances difficult for you? Are you having trouble seeing your credit card balances go high or stay high and putting too much of your monthly income towards servicing your credit cards and not paying for important things in your life? That struggle. But I also mean the emotional struggle. As I said, I have been through this. Having high credit card debt builds stress and financial fear. And for me, depending on the circumstances that you've gone through, maybe some shame. People are often afraid to talk to their spouses or parents or friends or colleagues about what they're going through. They hold their financial troubles close to their chest. They suffer through it alone. Maybe some guilt, you made a bad choice or something happened that you didn't expect, or embarrassment. I can't believe I got into this place. It can build a lot of isolation and loneliness. That is the struggle that I find most people go through when they're in credit card debt. It's the emotional pain that tightens us up and tenses our lives that we want to relieve. So I want to say this, if you are feeling all of this, you are not alone. I promise you are not alone. This survey from not that long ago, 2022, just a couple of years ago, 49% of Americans depend on credit cards to cover their essential living expenses, food, gas, clothing, education, rent sometimes. Like that is not what credit cards were intended to be, but we are turning to credit cards to cover our living expenses because the expense of life is not meeting the income that has not kept up with inflation, especially recently. 1 in 2 Americans are using their credit card to cover basic living expenses. You are not alone. So this is anyone struggling with credit card debt, anyone looking for the cheapest, fastest way to get out of credit card debt. I know a lot of ways to get out of credit card debt have been presented to you. We're going to talk about many of them. But if you want to get out of debt quickly and you want to save the most money, this is where you should be. If you are not sure what I'm going to talk about today, if you are just curious, if you're just like, oh, this guy said he was going to share some information with me, I just want to see what it is, that's cool. Stay, learn. At the end, if you're here to the end of the presentation, I'm going to give you a free gift. So you're going to get your free gift, big question mark. What's it be? Ooh, hopefully that's going to keep you along, I promise. It's one of the things from the Debt Reduction Made Easy program that I'm going to give to you for free just for being here. And if you stay towards the end, you're also going to get a good surprise discount. So the prices that I'm going to tell you about are prices that I've been charging for this material along the way. And now that I'm putting it all together in a package that I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to give you a big discount at the end just for being here on this webinar with me. So I thank you for your time and your attention. I want to start off with, let's hear what Jerry had to say. This is my client, Jerry.
legitimate things happen, crises happen in people's lives. There's a road to follow to get your way out. And man, you provided a great roadmap for us, which was just tremendous.
That's what this is going to be. The debt reduction made easy method is a roadmap to do what Jerry did. Jerry had $122,000 in credit card debt after a business venture failed. Something changed in his industry and the business couldn't support itself anymore. And when the business failed, he was left with this credit card debt. As I say, the business model of his life turned upside down. And he came to this methodology to have just about $100,000 reduced off of that debt, which saved his life. And I'll share a personal detail of Jerry's. He and his wife were considering adopting a child, and they were looking at all of that debt, saying, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna have a family? And they were weighing credit card debt versus having a family. And for them, going through this, saving that $100,000 allowed them to adopt a child who's now in her teen years, and like they have a family instead of paying off their credit card debt in full. I mean, for me, choices like that, of course, live your life. So that's Jerry. You're going to hear a little bit more about him today. I want to talk about the ways to get out of debt. People have this, they get into debt and they just live with it. And they don't realize that there are only a few paths you can take. The most common path that everybody knows about is what's called long-term payoff, or I call it long-term payoff at full interest, meaning keep making that monthly payment every month at interest until you've paid off your credit card. Many methodologies all fall within this. If you've read or watched Dave Ramsey, I think he has 30 or 31 or 32 or something methods for paying off debt, but they all fall within long-term payoff. The snowball method, where you pay the lowest balance first and get that card paid off, and then take that balance and combine it with the balance of the next, with the payment of the next one. They're making a double payment towards that card and pay it off, and then take all of that payment and apply it to the next card. But it's still paying off the entire debt in full over time. It's just a strategy to do it. Debt consolidation, these jumbo loans where you have four, five, or six cards and they're all maxed out and they're all at different interest rates. Some are very high. You go get a big loan, which is just a bank giving you a new loan at a lower interest rate. You're still going to pay off the entire debt at interest, just save some money in interest over time. It is a strategy for long-term payoff. Most strategies that most people hear are paying off the full debt in time. It's how we're kind of taught to deal with paying off our debt. There's also what's called the statute of limitations. Every state in America has a law on the books that has a statute of limitations for debt, which means if debt is not paid after a certain amount of time, in most states it's between like 4 and 7 years, the debt is no longer collectible. Doesn't mean people won't try to collect it. You might still have banks and collection agents and others coming after you for the debt. They're just not legally entitled to collect on it anymore. I want to make it very clear. I do not recommend what I call the total avoidance method of your debt. It increases the struggling. You are suffering in stress and fear and anxiety the whole time, dealing with collection agents the whole time, sitting and waiting to be sued the whole time. And I have never, ever had a client just avoid their debt. I am actually recommending that you pay off your debt just for a lot less than you owe. Another method that you've all heard about is bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is taking your financial life and handing it over to the courts. I'm going to talk about bankruptcy in a little bit, but in essence, bankruptcy is saying, I don't have enough money to pay off my debts. I want you to bank to figure out how to do it for me. And it comes with some costs. You have to pay a fee to file your bankruptcy with the court. In California at the time that I looked into it, which was about 15 years ago, it was like $2,500. It may be different in your state. I'm not sure. I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. But you have to file a fee with the court and pay your attorney's fees to file bankruptcy. It is a route that many people go through. And another route is what's called debt settlement. When I went through my debt journey in 2007, 2008, after the market crash, nobody knew about this. There weren't all the radio commercials and television commercials and internet commercials. It hadn't been famous like the guy on Shark Tank who now is running a debt, I put him in quotes, relief agency. I'll tell you why. Debt settlement was not something that was really talked about, but now it is very common and very out there. We're going to talk in depth about debt settlement and what it is, but it's basically calling up your lender and saying, the business model of my life turned upside down. And I do not and likely will not have the funds to pay off this entire debt in full over time at full interest. So let's negotiate a payment lower than that for me to settle out my debt. Bankruptcy is debt settlement. It's just not you making the call, it's the court taking all of your assets and calling your creditors and saying, let's negotiate a lower payment so you can get something out of the assets that we have. Debt relief agencies, I put it in quotes because I don't think they offer very much relief because their fees are so high that it's actually much, much worse. We're going to talk about that in detail today. But that's what they do. They call up your bank and negotiate settlements for you. The thing is, they just don't want you to know that you can do it yourself. When I talk about those secrets, debt relief agencies, those commercials, believe me, they're making a lot of money off people buying all those television ads, meaning those television ads are paying off. They're making a lot of money, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars off of people calling up their banks to negotiate settlements, which is something that you can do yourself. You just need to know how. And that's what I'm going to share with you in Debt Reduction Made Easy. So why me? Why am I here in front of you today? How did I become such an expert in this? I went through a personal debt journey during the 2008 market crash. I am a businessman. I had a business venture and my business partner died during the business venture, and that left me with a lot of debt, which I fully intended to pay off in the long term because I fully intended the business venture to succeed. And then the 2007 subprime mortgage crisis hit and the 2008 market crash hit, and my business venture dried up and there was no income coming in. I was paying about $3,600 a month in minimum monthly payments over 6 or 7 cards, all with major US banks. And I didn't have any money coming in. I was looking at my savings and I was going to be literally destitute and homeless in 5 or 6 months and did not know what to do, had no idea how I was going to get out of this situation. The only options I thought I had were to pay. I had never heard anything else. Just keep paying $3,600 a month and have it take 15 or 20 years and pay. I was over $200,000 in debt after that business venture. And if you add up all the interest, it would have been closer to $500,000 that I would have paid over 15 or so years. My life would never have recovered. My other option was pray, like that something happens, who knows what, some windfall, win the lottery, the business suddenly spikes up out of nowhere. Just pray that my income is so big and huge, like 20 times bigger in the next couple of months than it has ever been in my life before that, to pay off all this debt in a way that's unexpected. So pay, pray, or run away, which is file bankruptcy and just say, I don't want to deal with it anymore. So I actually did go visit a bankruptcy attorney. And this is what he said. He said, bankruptcy does not eliminate debt. I was like, what? What do you mean? I thought bankruptcy was all your debt is forgiven. No, there are different chapters of bankruptcy. They're called 7, 11, and 13. I am not an expert. I cannot take you through all the details of them all. But what my bankruptcy attorney said to me was the court wants people to file bankruptcy under the chapter that does not eliminate your debt. It's just turning your financial life over to the court, and they sort of become a financial receiver where they get to sell off all your assets, home, cars. You get left with $3,000 to buy a used car. I think at most in California at the time, I would have been left with about $20,000 in cash, and everything else they take, and they call your creditors and they negotiate settlements with your creditors to pay off your debts as much as they can with the assets that you have. They just take over your financial life for you. It does not eliminate your debt. It just turns it over to somebody else so that creditors won't be calling you anymore. And then he said, hey, by the way, the court does that for you and you could do it yourself. And I went, huh? There were no television commercials. There were no radio commercials. The internet didn't even really exist the way it does now. This is before Facebook and Facebook advertising and long before TikTok and YouTube ads and all of that. There was web pages where I could search for debt settlement. There was zero information at the time, but I went, hey, if the down like bottom of the road, if this doesn't work out, end for me is I can still file bankruptcy. I might as well try to do this on my own first. And if I succeed, maybe save more money than I would if I file bankruptcy. Because if it doesn't work, I can always file bankruptcy. So I just started doing it. I had no information. I just started calling him. The attorney didn't even give me much information. He said, just tell your banks to call me and I'll negotiate the settlements for you at his hourly rate. But what was funny is the banks didn't call him. They just kept calling me. Even when I said, call my attorney, they didn't. They just kept calling me. So I started saying, what can I do? And I wound up being really good at it. I have to admit, this was a $76,000 card. I reduced the debt to $25,000, paid them $25,000. This is a $10,000. The total amount's not on there. I think it was about a $35,000 card. This was a $21,000 debt. I reduced to $7,400. A 25 almost $1,000 debt reduced to $9,300. I just got good at negotiating, and all of these accounts were closed. And within about 18 months, I had settled out well over $200,000 in debt. I'd saved well over $150,000 in principal and all of the interest that I would have paid. So instead of being in debt for 15 years and paying $400,000 or $500,000 on my $200,000 in debt, I was out of debt in a year and a half and only paid, I think by the end, about $70,000. Now I know you might be thinking right now, well, I have a lot of debt and I don't have the $75,000. Just put a pin in that. We're going to talk about the strategies for paying off your lump sum payments. The point here is I did it. It worked. I got good at it. I wrote the do-it-yourself bailout. It got published. I started getting web articles and newspaper articles and magazine articles. And I was on podcasts and television shows and radio shows. And I just started spreading the word of you can do this. This is me on Spectrum News here in Los Angeles. This is great. The CBS News here in Los Angeles came and did a whole piece on me. This is Glenn Walker on Hollywood Boulevard saying,
Kenny Golde has written a book. It's called The Do-It-Yourself Bailout. And if you are being buried by those finance charges on all your credit cards, this book is a must read.
I love that. A must read. And you know what? People started reading it and they started doing it. And then they started sending me emails and letters. I know a lot of people out there in the internet world are putting up testimonials. Hey, this was great. And hey, it did this. These people are actually sending me emails saying, I read your book and I did what you said to do. And I saved a ton of money and it was so easy for them. Here's my client, Nicole.
Something I'm really learning is like, especially as a woman, it's okay to use your voice. It's okay to be able to say what you legitimately have in your bank account and that you can try to settle this out in a way that is healthy for me, not healthy for the banks, but healthy for me. What will get me back on my feet? What can I actually afford? What can I actually do? And what I'm starting to realize is there's more leeway than you think. You have more power in this process. And just by that alone, I would recommend doing this if you're looking to get your power back away from money and these institutions that feel like they can kind of suppress your power, which is, I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but if you really think about it in your own life, what's your relationship to money? You're probably giving your power away to some institution.
I love the way Nicole said that because that's really what banks want. They want you to feel like they have all the control and you don't. They want you to feel like the underdog. Look, in the hundreds of years ago in England, you could be thrown into prison for having debts. In America, you can't. They can't jail you or arrest you for having debts. They have a certain number of tools in their toolbox. And one of the tools is to make you feel like they're the big guy and you're the small guy so that you are stressed and anxious and nervous about your life. And in order to get rid of that stress, fear, and anxiety, you want to just give them the money. That is a tool that they have. It is a power play. And what I want to do is give you knowledge and courage to turn that power play around so that you can negotiate what's best for your life. So let's get started with like the actual information. What are you going to learn today? You're going to learn what debt settlement is, and you're going to learn why do-it-yourself debt settlement is the fastest and cheapest way to become debt-free. Faster and cheaper than long-term payoff for sure. Faster and cheaper than bankruptcy, like the best way for you to get out of debt quickly and save so much money. And you're going to learn how you can do it yourself. So debt settlement is just straightforward, calling your creditor and negotiating a payment that's less than the total debt. I know I owe you this. I admit that I borrowed it, but I don't have it. What can we negotiate as a payment amount for me to pay. And when you pay that amount, your account is considered closed. You have made full settlement on the total amount of debt so that they forgive the debt and no longer attempt collection activities, all of that. Your account's closed, the debt is gone. Usually, that settlement amount needs to be paid up front. It is the bank's incentive to take less, is that they're not going to wait 15 or 20 years to get the money back. They're going to get the money up front. Again, we're going to talk about strategies for how to have that money to make that settlement. But that is what debt settlement is. It is making a lump sum upfront payment in order to reduce your debt by a significant amount and pay the bank back less than what you borrowed and owe. And I know you have questions. I know you do. Maybe you've seen those television commercials and you're like, what is it? How does it work? Some questions people ask is, what happens to my credit score? I'm afraid about my credit score falling. We're going to talk about your credit scores. Another question, what's the difference between do-it-yourself settlement and using an agency? Why can't I just use an agency? We're going to talk about that. How much can I save? How long does it take? We're going to talk about all of this. So just settle in. I promise you're going to get a ton of information. You're going to get a ton of information. So as an example, let's say you have $100,000 in credit card debt. You may not, you may have 10, you might have 25, you might have 50, you might have more than this. I had over 200, whatever your amount is, fix it in your head. The numbers I'm going to take you came straight off of a easy calculator app on my phone. So I'm not making this numbers up. You can see here, I put on a $100,000 balance at a 25% interest rate, which is clearly very common these days. And it came up and said it's going to cost $2,600 a month in payment. And this is the interesting part. It's going to take about 6.5 years to pay off, 78 months, 72 months is 6 years. So 6.5 years to pay off. And by the time you've paid it off, you won't only have paid the $100,000 in debt, but you will have paid $103,000 in interest, which means you will have actually paid the bank a little over $200,000 on your $100,000 borrowed over 6.5 years at $2,600 a month. And if you're looking at your life going, whatever my debt is and whatever my monthly payment is, this is not going to work. I am not making enough money. I will never get ahead in my life. So what is your other option? In debt settlement, again, approximately, I think 35% is the good target range for most debt in a reasonable amount of time. You're going to pay the bank $35,000. If your debt's $50,000, cut that in half. You'll expect to pay about $17,000. If your debt's $10,000, you'll expect to pay about $3,500-ish, depending on the amount of time that you go into it. Instead of that $2,600 a month payment, you'll have none. The second you stop paying your credit card, you have no monthly payment anymore, which means all of that money that you were putting into paying your credit card, you can put into paying for your life. Instead of 6.5 years to pay off, 6 to 18 months. Instead of $100,000 in interest, you'll have a tiny amount of interest. In the few months that you're negotiating with your bank while they're still keeping your account active, you'll keep adding interest to your balance in those few months so that your balance goes up a little bit. But when you eventually settle, you'll get the percentage off of that extra interest in your balance too. But then after a few months, they're going to send your debt to a collection agent who's not allowed to charge you interest, and you'll be paying no interest anymore. And instead of a $200,000 total payment, you're going to save about, in this example, approximately 65%, $65,000 in principal, and that other $100,000 in future interest. This borrower would have saved $165,000 that he or she would have paid to the bank over 6.5 years, and instead won't pay the bank that money, has that money for their life. And if you're going, well, what if it doesn't work? What happens if I get along the way and I actually do have a bunch of money come in? I do win the lottery. My business does start up. I get another job. Like I can start paying again. You can start paying again. There's nothing that says once you start negotiating with your bank, you can't get out of it. You can just make the payment, and if your account hasn't been charged off, just bring your account back into full status and just keep going with your bank. You'll have no balance on your card and you just keep going. Or you can always file bankruptcy. If you get down the road and you go, this isn't working for me, that bankruptcy option is always there. I said, why not try? And I tried and I was good at it. If you say, why not try? And you try and it doesn't work, you can file bankruptcy. These options still exist to make your full payment every month. The bank's never going to say, no, you can't make your full payment. They want you to start paying in full at full interest again. They will let you do that if you've gone 2-3 months in delinquency and say, debt settlement isn't for me, I want to start again. And if you don't have the money to do that and you don't like the debt settlement, method that you're going through, you can always file bankruptcy. So those options, always long-term payoff in bankruptcy, still exist even when you try this method. I just believe that in this method, you have nothing to lose. There's no reason not to try. You have everything to gain. Here's the thing. I went through that journey alone. There was nothing. There was no information anywhere. I learned everything the hard way. And if you read my original book, The Do-It-Yourself Bailout, which you get for free as part of the program, when we get to the program, you will hear about all the pitfalls and mistakes and bumps and surprises that I went through. I learned all that. It cost me time and money, but because I now have put it all into this material for you, I make it easier and faster for you because, as I said, you are not alone. You ready for this one? 75% of Americans missed credit card payments during COVID. 75%. That doesn't mean just people under the poverty line. It doesn't just mean people with big families. It doesn't just mean people who got laid off. It doesn't just mean middle class or struggling middle class. 75% means rich people, wealthy people, almost everybody. 3 out of 4 people, 3 out of 4 people in cars driving down the road, 3 out of 4 people who you saw at the supermarket, 3 out of 4 people who you knew missed credit card payments during COVID. And then we came out of COVID and everybody's thinking, okay, COVID's done. We're all going to go back to work. It's great. And then what happened? Interest rates went through the roof. Inflation went through the roof. Now, right here today, we're dealing with the tariffs that are going on, and inflation is going up even more. And everybody who thought they were going to get their credit cards back into full account and keep paying are like, oh my God, but the expenses of my life just keep going up. And they're still making credit card payments. Credit card debt from like 2008 to about 2020, full national United States, all credit card debt was hovering around $700 to $800 billion. It fluctuated a little in there for like the next 15 years. And then COVID hit and it immediately went to $1 trillion. And now it's at $1.2 trillion. Total credit card debt in America has gone up by about $400 billion in the last 4 years. It's gone up by like 50% from the 800 billion that it was at. That's not just people who are frivolous with their credit cards. That's not just people who didn't plan their lives well. That's 75% of Americans feeling the crunch, the squeeze of interest rates and inflation, making the business model of their life too expensive. They didn't do anything different or anything wrong. The circumstance of finances in America changed, and the route they had to deal with that was credit cards. And now we find ourselves in situations that we don't know how to get out of. And that's why I created Debt Reduction Made Easy, to teach you that there is another road besides bankruptcy, besides paying it off in the long term and struggling and suffering forever to get out of debt. Here's my client, Mark.
I pulled out all these little fragments of techniques that they're going to use against you. And then literally I wrote down these tiers of they're gonna be nice, they're gonna be friendly, they're gonna get emotional, they're gonna threaten you, all these things, so that when it was happening, I had it right on a piece of paper in front of me on my desk. And I was like, oh, that's where they are right now. And I didn't get like blindsided by it. So I had a lot of, I'll say, administration sort of backing me up, spreadsheets, scripts, all my anchor datums that I would like rivet in, and kind of built myself a platform on how to really move forward.
So what Mark's talking about is talking to collection agents. There's a whole section of the Debt Reduction Made Easy program where I teach you what collection agents are going to say, because I heard them. I had like 7 different cards that were in delinquency, and I was getting calls from collection agents 4 or 5 times a day. And I started to realize that they were all saying the same thing. Collection agents in different departments, at different banks, at different collection agencies, they all had the same script. I realized that they had created a business model. They had likely hired outside consultants for tens of millions of dollars to come in and script the collection agent phone calls with the borrower, with the person who was delinquent on their credit card. And when I started to hear all those scripts, I came up with the opposite script. I created the script that you can say back to the collection agent to move through those. And he's talking about all the intimidations and coercions and everything that they say because they're trying to collect your debt. And most people go, oh my God, I'm so in fear and doubt and insecurity and anxiety that I'm just going to give in to that. and keep having my financial life struggle. And Mark's talking about how the debt reduction made easy method and the do-it-yourself bailout taught him how to meet that with courage and confidence. It's courage and confidence that are going to get you through your debt journey. We want to talk now about the top 3 reasons that people stay in debt forever. And before we do that, I want to take a short break, let you go, take a bio break, refill your coffee, stretch out, check your email, answer that phone call, come back in 5 minutes, all refreshed and ready to learn why, if you don't do something else, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you may stay in debt forever. All right, go take a break and then come back and we will keep going. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a good break, good stretch. Got whatever was on your mind, an email, a phone call off your mind, a little bio break, your body's ready, relaxed, refilled your coffee, your tea, your water, whatever it is you've got with you this morning. Let's talk about the top 3 reasons that people stay in debt forever. The number 1 reason isn't because the finances of your life turned upside down. That's the thing that got you into debt. The thing that keeps people in debt forever is that they're emotional about their debt. They are letting the fear and stress and anxiety guide them instead of coming up with a tangible plan to move forward. The number 2 reason is they're worried about their credit score going down. People are trained to be so attached to having a high credit score that when they're presented with an option to save way more money than a high credit score will save you, they refuse that option because they're more attached to their credit score than they are to being debt free. And we want to reverse that. I want to make you more attached to being debt free than you are attached to your credit score and show you why that can be a good thing for you. And the number 3 reason is they just don't know about debt settlement. They've only ever heard about long-term payoff. They're emotionally and psychologically conditioned about long-term payoff. All these words like honor. Let me tell you something. Honor was taught hundreds of years ago because creditors wanted you to pay them back. So they made it honorable to pay your debts back. But your creditors, your banks, do not view it that way. You know this. They do. They would not be charging 35% interest on your credit card if they were approaching it honorably. They would not be sending lobbyists to Congress and court every year forever, making sure that your government does not set a law that limits how much interest a bank can charge on a loan. To this date, there is no national limit on how much interest a bank can charge on a loan. Why? Because banks have sent lobbyists to Congress and lawyers to court to make sure that your government does not pass that law. Your bank does not treat your debt with honor. They treat it as a business. So most people just don't know about debt settlement. They think they have to pay it off in full, or the only other option is bankruptcy, and then they get worried about their credit score, so they just go back to long-term payoff. Or they've heard about debt settlement, they've seen the agency ads for debt settlement, and they've heard the messaging in those ads that this is tough and this is difficult, and this is something that we as the agency can do for you because you can't do it for yourself. And I'm here to tell you all of that is not true. These reasons, fear, doubt, anxiety, insecurity, misplaced realism about what debt is and what the business of debt is, credit scores, and lack of knowledge are the things that keep people in debt forever. We're going to talk about them each in turn and give you a solution to each of them. So people are emotional about their debt. People are afraid of judgment. They judge themselves. I'm a bad person if I pay off less than I owed. They're afraid that other people will judge them, that their parents, if they're college students or out of college, will judge them for getting into financial trouble in their first place. Look, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and your parents are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, that generation had a very different financial reality. My parents bought their first house in Los Angeles for $30,000. At the time, their combined income was $60,000, which means that 4-bedroom house in Encino cost half of 1 year's combined salary. For that same couple, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a lawyer. That same couple these days, instead of making $60,000 a year, might make $200,000 a year. But that same house now costs $800,000, which means in the last 50 years, buying a home went from costing 6 months combined income as a family to 4 years combined income as a family. The business model of America has changed, and older generations judge younger generations for not having their finances in order when they didn't have to go through the financial life that now exists. But we're still worried about our friends and family judging us for being in financial straits. There is shame, guilt, embarrassment. My business failed. My employees didn't get to see the benefit of the jobs that they'd put so much into anymore. We have lack of confidence in talking to debt collectors because we feel like they know so much more than us, like the bank is in the power position and we're the little guy. Insecurity, anxiety, all of this is going to either keep you paying long-term payment at full interest forever, or just washing your hands of it and giving it to your bank. But here's what I will say: while your bank giving it to the court in bankruptcy, I will say while a bankruptcy court might take over the finances of your life, there is nothing about bankruptcy that will relieve you from these emotions. You will still feel all of the insecurity and anxiety. Even when the bankruptcy has taken over your life and given you whatever little money left over, you still have to go start your life again. You still have to go rebuild your finances. And if you haven't dealt with all of the pain and fear and doubt and insecurity and anxiety that came with your debt and your finances to begin with, you're still going to have all of that when you try and go rebuild your finances. It's not going to work. You know the expression, wherever you go, there you are. If doubt, fear, and anxiety and insecurity around finances have contributed to getting where you are and being where you are, they're still going to be there if you don't deal with them. So the way to deal with the emotion of debt, here's the solution to problem number one, is to treat debt like a business. Your bank and credit card lender are treating debt like a business. Debt relief agencies are treating debt like a business. They have no emotion in it. Your bank doesn't care that you are struggling with debt. They may throw up a commercial talking about relationships between the bank and the borrower, but it is not the relationship that they are in it for. They are in it for the interest. They lend money at interest. Their business model is to get that money paid back and earn the interest. That is their job. And the only thing guiding your bank is the law and the numbers. It doesn't matter if you call up and say, oh, I'm in so much trouble, da, da, da. If you are afraid, they will take advantage of it. They will steer that fear to get you back into paying your full monthly payment and interest, or settling for a lot more than you need to, because they know that you are not negotiating to save money. You are negotiating to get out of painful emotion, and they're negotiating to save money, which gives them the upper hand. What I come along and say in the Debt Reduction Made Easy method is, in the same way that there are laws that give banks rights, they can charge whatever interest there are they want, there are also laws that limit what banks and debt collectors can do. There are laws that protect you as a borrower. We're all told that there's some vague sense of shame in filing bankruptcy. There's not. Bankruptcy was created in order to protect people who get into financial trouble so that their lives aren't taken apart. And if your bank can take refuge behind every law that both gives its rights and restrictions, you have the same right to take refuge behind every law that gives you rights and restrictions. This is a notice that I got from my debt collectors saying there's a law in California, whatever state you're in. I don't know what the state law is around what debt collectors can do, but this is called the Federal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It is a national law that applies to debt collectors in every state that limits what they can do in attempting to collect your debt, and basically says you have the right to not pay back your debt in full. You have the legal right to do that. Bankruptcy is actually a strategy. Go talk to a bankruptcy attorney, they'll say, bankruptcy is a strategy. We take businesses through it every day, and we take people through it every day. And debt settlement, debt renegotiation, debt reduction is a strategy. If you are the CEO of a corporation who is in debt and you need to get your corporation out of debt, your shareholders expect you to call up the lender and say, our business isn't doing as well as we thought it would when we took out the debt. How can we restructure this debt? How can we reduce this debt? What can we do to make this debt less burdensome to us so that our company can still succeed? That is a fiduciary responsibility that the CEO of a corporation has to its shareholders when dealing with debt. Yet we as individuals are taught that we're not supposed to do the same thing. And I want to come to you and say, in Debt Reduction Made Easy, you can. It is your legal right to treat your own financial life with the same level of fiduciary responsibility that your lender is approaching you with. Debt Reduction Made Easy gives you the knowledge, and knowledge defeats doubt and fear. This is true throughout history. People who are afraid don't know what's going on. When they don't know what's going on, they're afraid. When you get knowledge, it reduces doubt and fear. And when we reduce doubt and fear, you overcome pain and suffering. When I get rid of my doubt and fear because I understand the situation, I don't suffer as much because now I feel like I can take control of my situation instead of feeling like I don't have any control of my situation. And that's where most people in debt are. They feel like they don't have any control, and that causes suffering and doubt and fear, and they will struggle in debt forever. But I give you knowledge which overcomes doubt and fear, overcomes pain and suffering, builds courage and confidence. And from that courage and confidence, you have the ability to actually make a plan, a business plan to prepare for getting yourself out of debt. Unafraid, informed, prepared. You treat debt like getting out of a business. I say this in my books and videos and coaching all the time. Be the CEO of the corporation of you, with a fiduciary responsibility to yourself and your spouse and your children and your company and your world to be in the healthiest financial position that you can be in for the betterment of your life. And as the CEO of the corporation of you, it is your job to get out of debt as quickly and inexpensively as possible. You are not living up to your fiduciary responsibility as the CEO of the corporation of you if you are struggling through debt, suffering through debt, getting more and more into debt, paying money that you need for your life into credit card interest when you have a way out. It is your job to find the quickest, fastest, most inexpensive way out. Rick went through a divorce, was left with $18,000 in credit card debt after a divorce. He had 2 little kids. He was not going to be able to support his little kids if he was paying all that money to a credit card. He reduced his debt to $3,500. Thomas reduced $47,000 in debt to $12,000. Rob reduced $150,000 in debt to $33,000. It's like a 20% reduction. It's on several different cards, 125 to 25, 18K to 6K, 6K to 2K, debt free. Here's Jerry again.
When you first encounter this, you really don't know what's going to happen. And there's some fear or shame associated with that. You can't just go call up your neighbor and say, hey, what do you do? Because you don't want to admit that you're in trouble, you know? So having the information from the book and just knowing the process of what you're going to go through, that helps tremendously.
Jerry's talking about the emotions of debt. He's talking about finding a place that will help me get out of those negative and disempowering emotions so that I can handle this as a business. So you're emotional about your debt. Solution, treat debt like a business. Be the CEO of the corporation of you. Debt Reduction Made Easy shows you how to do that. Number 2, people are worried about their credit score going down. Oh my God, my credit score. We are conditioned from infancy to make our credit score mean so much more than your credit score actually means. I don't know if you saw these commercials about 15, 20 years ago when the credit card websites started coming out where you could check your credit score, creditreport.com and others. They had these commercials of this band at a Renaissance fair singing a song about how if you have a low credit score, you are literally going to be working at the Renaissance fair, sleeping in your parents' basement, and unlovable. That was the words and imagery of the song, that your life is ruined, not because you're in financial trouble, but because your credit score is low. I have seen recent commercials that show a couple living in a dingy basement, and then they go use an app, whatever the current one is, Credit Karma, I think, or one of those. And because of the app, their credit score goes up. And when their credit score goes up, they literally go up an elevator to the penthouse and then have this beautiful apartment as if they're suddenly making 10 times as much money and can afford the beautiful apartment. But the imagery is meant to say if your credit score is high, your life is going to be better. What they're really saying is if your credit score is high, you can go more into debt by buying things like couches and refrigerators and televisions and apartments that you can't afford, but you can put it all in your credit score without really saying down the road from that, as you keep putting in more and more on your credit card, and you don't have the money to support it, that you're just going to be struggling with credit card debt again. I am so opposed to the imagery of these credit companies and credit reporting apps that tell you your life will be better just because your credit score is high, not your life will be better because you are empowered to build a strong financial future. How about this one? Did you ever see this commercial? Oh my Lord. Can you imagine a stronger anti-imagery programming than showing two strapping young men literally standing in Superman pose with their near 800 credit score? And the guy with the 583 is this dumpy, bald, chubby guy in a hockey mask made to look like a horror movie villain. You're watching this not thinking, I want to get my credit score high. That is not the intent of the ad. You're watching this thinking, if my credit score is low, I am a bad, weak man. That is the messaging of this, that they want to send to men and that they want to send to women who are in relationships with men, that if your man's credit score is low, he is a bad, weak man. So you better do everything to keep your credit score high, making you feel like it is better for you to be tens or hundreds of $1,000s in debt, struggling and suffering through life than it is to have a low credit score. People are so worried about their credit score going down. And when their credit score is down, it triggers their emotions again. And it's this big detrimental cycle. So here's the solution to the number 2 reason that people stay in debt forever. To learn that your credit score is a tool that has more uses than the tool you have been taught it has. The number 1 use that people think of credit score having is to get more access to credit at a lower interest rate. That is what your credit score is for. If you have a high credit score, you can get higher lines of credit on more cards. You might be able to have tens or even hundreds of $1,000s of access to credit at a lower interest rate. When your score is low, you can get lower interest than when your score is high. We see this in car loans. If your credit score is high, you can get a higher car loan with a lower interest rate. And if your credit score is low, you can get a lower car loan with a lower interest rate. Same example for homes, same example for credit cards. You can get more credit extended to you at a lower interest rate if your credit score is high, and less credit extended to you at I think I said it backwards before. I think I said higher and higher, lower and lower. Sorry about that. Credit score is meant to get you more access to credit at a lower interest rate. If you go for a car, you can get a higher car loan at a lower interest rate with a high credit score. And if you have a lower credit score, you can get less of a car loan at a higher interest rate. I think I said it backwards a moment ago. And the same thing with your credit cards. You can get more credit at a lower interest rate with a high score and less credit at a higher interest rate with a low score. And people think that is the only tool that a credit score can give you, with the ultimate thing being, if I borrow a lot of money, I will save money in interest with a higher credit score. So its ultimate intent is to save you money in interest on the money that you borrow. But if you're not looking to use the tool for that, if you already own your home, or because of the situation you're in, not looking to buy a home anytime soon, if you already own a car, or because of the situation you're in, not looking to buy a car anytime soon, or know that it would be better for you to just pay a few $1,000s in cash for a used car than take out a car loan on a new car, if you're not looking to take out a business loan, if you're not looking to take out a student loan, you can use your credit score in a different way to save you a lot more money. And I'm going to be very frank about this. When your credit score is high, its intent is to save you money on interest when you borrow a lot. But by letting your credit score fall, by allowing your credit score to go down a few hundred points, you can actually save far more money than you would keeping it high and paying a little less interest. So let's go back to this example before, that same $100,000 in credit card debt, $2,600 a month payment, 6.5 years to pay off, $100,000 in interest, $200,000 in total payment. At the end of those 6.5 years, when you have done that and you have paid $200,000 to pay off that credit card, you will have an 800 FICO score. Good for you. And you have struggled with money and suffered with the fear and doubt and anxiety the whole way. You have struggled with making your rent or mortgage payment, your electric bill payment, putting gas in your car, food on the table, education for your kids, clothes. You have struggled with life because your credit card has been taking so much of your monthly income that you are still in all the same fear, stress, doubt, and anxiety. You may feel good about yourself when you finally pay it off. You may go, okay, that's done. Hit my microphone there for a second, sorry. That's done. I feel good about myself for having done it. Wonderful. And I have a 500, an 800 FICO score when you've paid off your debt. Or you can save $65,000 up front by paying $35,000 to your credit card. You can have zero monthly payment for all of those years and put that $2,600 a month back into your life. You can be debt free in 6 to 18 months instead of 6.5 years. You can pay that little bit of interest along the way. You can save another $100,000 in all of the interest that you would have paid otherwise. So you've paid $35,000 to your bank in 6 to 18 months instead of $200,000 to your bank in 6.5 years, and your FICO score will be 500, and you will have been debt and stress-free the entire time. So now it becomes a choice. What is more important to me? Saving, in this example, your numbers are different, $165,000 over 6.5 years, being debt-free in a few months and not having any of the stress for all the years, but my credit score has gone low, but I have detached myself from the personal imagery attachment that I am a bad person if my credit score has gone low. And I've treated it as the CEO of the corporation of me and said to myself, the best fiduciary thing that I can do for me is to use my credit score as a tool in a different way, let it fall, save all this money, be debt and stress free the entire time. Or keep paying it all off the whole way, struggling the whole way, spending all of that money. And at the end, get a moment of, okay, that was good. Now it's done. That choice is always going to be yours. I just recommend treating it by the numbers and doing what's right for you and your family financially without letting the emotion, shame, guilt, stress be the thing that guides you. And then people say, okay, Kenny, well, now I have a 500 FICO score and my card's paid off, but I want to buy a car now. Okay, so let's look at that. Your score has gone down, which means it's going to cost you a little bit more money to buy that car. Let's look at exactly, this is why I say run the numbers, exactly how much. If you want to buy a $25,000 car and you get a 5% interest rate when your credit score is high, you have an 800 credit score. These days, maybe it's a little higher than that. Maybe it's 7, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to do a comparison. If your credit score is 800, you might get a 5% interest rate on that 60-month car loan, $25,000. You're going to pay $471 a month. And at the end of the 5 years, you will have paid $3,300 in interest, and you will have paid $28,300 for that $25,000 loan. Now, let's say you have gone through debt settlement and you have saved $165,000 on your $100,000 debt, or whatever your credit amount is and however much you would have saved. You know those numbers in your head by now. And with your low 500 FICO score, you might have a 9% interest rate. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 11. I'm going with the comparison. Same 60-month loan, same $25,000. Instead of paying $471 a month, you'll pay $518 a month. You'll pay an extra $50 a month on that car loan. And at the end of 5 years, instead of paying $3,000 in interest, you'll pay $6,000 in interest. So instead of paying $28,000 for your car, you'll pay $31,000 for your car. So you have saved whatever you have saved in your credit card. I mean, in the example I gave, $100,000 debt, $65,000 in principal, and $100,000 in future interest. Is it worth saving $165,000 and having your FICO score fall to 500 in order to pay an extra $3,000 in interest on the next car you buy? And maybe you only have $20,000 in credit card debt, but you can settle that $20,000 in credit card debt for about 35%, which is like about $7,000. And you're going to save $13,000 or so in principal and another $20,000 in interest. So you're going to save $33,000 and be debt free in 6 to 18 months and have your FICO score fall to 500. And then it comes time to buy a car. And again, it's going to cost you an extra $3,000 in interest on that car because your interest rate went up because your credit score went down, but you saved $33,000 in your credit card debt. I'm just saying, run the numbers. And then people will also say to me, what if I bought a house? It's the same thing. It's just run the numbers. If you have $10,000 in credit card debt and you want to buy a house in a couple of years, I wouldn't recommend debt settlement. Pay off the $10,000. But if you have $300,000 in credit card debt and you want to buy a house in a couple of years and you're spending or $10,000 a month on credit card interest, and there's no way you're going to be able to afford that house, and you settle that $300,000 for about 100, and you save another $300,000 in interest, so you've saved $400,000 in credit card payment, and now you want to buy a house, but your interest rate's going to be a little higher. That $400,000 you saved in credit card payment could be the down payment on the house that you would not have if you were putting it all towards credit cards. So again, run the numbers for wherever you are, looking only at the numbers and what is legally available to you. What would the CEO of the corporation do for you? And again, by the way, after you've paid off your cards through debt settlement over the next couple of years, your score is going to go back up. My score did go down to, I think 508 is where it bottomed out. But within a year or two, it was back up in the 600s, and now it's back up in the 700s, and I have access to credit and credit cards, and I have a car loan, and all of that stuff comes back. With bankruptcy, by the way, bankruptcy stays on your credit report for 7 years before it goes off. The credit card payments drop off after a couple, and your report gets back to normal, and your credit score starts to go up, and then you refinance that car, you refinance the house. The same concept applies. All I'm saying is run the numbers. Treat your life like you're the CEO of the corporation of you, unemotionally, and as the CEO of the corporation of you, look at your credit score for the tool that it is and run the numbers to figure out what is right for you. I'm just saying that there is a route to being debt free that paying it all off in full or praying for a change or running away through bankruptcy don't provide for you. Stephen eliminated $50,000 in credit card jack. I love what he says. He says, bill collectors don't know what to do with someone who isn't afraid of them. I enjoyed their phone calls. I bet you never thought you can enjoy a phone call with a debt collector, but you can when you are empowered to have it. My paycheck is all mine, mine, mine. That's what I want your paycheck to be. This couple saved $120,000. Michael settled a $13,000 debt for $1,300, a 10% settlement. Not common, but it's where he got to. Here's
Go
Mark
through your
again.
book, and yeah, there's certain things that I have, highlighted in here and starred and notes on them and stuff, because I didn't have enough stability to know what I could do and what was possible. And without knowing the what was possible, I would have compromised on something a lot less.
So that's Mark saying it was the methodology, the approach, the knowledge that gave him the ability to get his family where they needed to be. So number 3 reason, people just don't know about debt settlement, or they don't think they can negotiate debt settlements by themselves. And this is where I want to talk about debt settlement agencies a little bit. If you came here through my Facebook ad, you heard me say, don't go to an agency before you know what they are really doing. Have you seen their ads? These irritate me so much, I can't even tell you. There are secret government programs that banks and credit card companies don't want you to know about. It's not true. They are boldly lying on their ad. There are government programs, HUD programs, and housing programs that help people manage their finances. There are no government programs at all that negotiate your credit card debt for you. They don't exist. And there's certainly no secret government programs. The only secret they're talking about is that there's the Federal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which protects you as a borrower. It is straight up BS, meant to make you feel like they have access to something that you don't have access to. And then they say, see if you qualify. The only qualification is that you have enough debt to make it worth their time to go make a fee off of you. Most of them say you need to have at least $10,000 in debt, because to make their 3 phone calls worthwhile, they want to make enough money. You only have to qualify for them to take you as a client. There's nothing to qualify for when it comes to calling up your bank and negotiating a settlement on your debt. And I do want to point out here that they say pay up to 30% less than you. I'm telling you can pay up to 65% less than you. Why? What makes the difference? Because they're going to tell you to settle at a higher rate, and they're going to charge a fee on top of it. And by the time you settle at a higher rate with them than you could get for yourself and pay their fee, they're only going to save you 30%. When you do it by yourself and take longer and have the tools to go lower and don't pay their fee, you can save twice as much. There are no secret government programs. It's legal to settle debt. That's it. If you're struggling with credit card debt, you qualify. If you want to reduce or eliminate your credit card debt, you qualify. If you want to be free of the negative emotions of debt, just let go of all that pain, fear, stress, anxiety, doubt, shame, guilt now. Don't wait 7 years to be debt free to let go of all that. Let go of it now and empower yourself to take control of your finances. You qualify. You qualify. The only thing that you need to qualify for is being somebody who is ready to turn your financial life around right now by getting out of debt as quickly as possible and saving as much money as possible. Except that the agencies don't want you to do that because their business model is to charge you a lot of money to do something for you that you think you can't do for yourself. Agencies say they represent you, but they don't. They work for themselves. They are a business with a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to make money, and they pursue what is best for them, which is to make as much money off of you as quickly as possible. How much money do they make? About 20% of your total debt. Their ads will say 15 to 25%. They will charge you a higher percentage interest if you have a lower amount of debt and a lower percentage interest if you have a higher amount of debt, because if you don't have as much debt, they want to make more money off of their work for you. And if you have higher debt, they know they're going to make more money. They'll charge you a little less. And it's not 20% of how much they save you. This would make sense to me. If an agency came and said, you have $100,000 in debt, if we can knock 50% off of that, we will charge you 20% off the 50% we saved you. Why does that make sense to me? Because then they're incentivized to save you as much as possible. They're incentivized to take longer and negotiate harder to save you as much as possible. But because they charge their fee not on how much they save you, but on your total amount of debt, it means they're not incentivized to save you as much as possible. They're incentivized to have you settle as quickly as possible. If they can get your bank to knock off 40 or 50% in 2 or 3 phone calls, and they still get 20% of the total debt, I'm going to use the $100,000 example again. If they still get their $20,000, whether they save you $30,000 or $50,000 or $75,000, their goal is to get a settlement offer that you are going to take as quickly as possible to make their total commission off your entire debt, close the books on you, and move on to the next person. And I'm not making this up. This is an actual screenshot from an actual debt relief agency on the internet that says right here, people save approximately 40 to 50% of their enrolled debt with an average of 43%. Remember, I'm telling you, my average for my clients is 65% before program fees. Fees are based on your total debt, 14 to 25%, and after clients must, and then this next one says after fees, it's like 25%. See this? It says, clients who are able to stay with the program and get all of their debt settled realize approximate savings of 46% before fees and 25% total savings after their fees. And they're saying the same time frame as me, 24 to 48 months, meaning they still have to go negotiate settlements with your bank. But by the time you're done and you add their fees, you're only going to save 25%. They want to do it as quickly as possible. They know that banks will often offer a 50% settlement in about 3 months. I've seen so many clients call me up and say, oh, on the first phone call, they say they don't do it at all. Just wait and be patient. On the 5th or 6th phone call, they came down to 85%. Wait and be patient. On the 7th or 8th phone call, they came down to 65%. Wait a little bit more before, by the time 3 to 6 months happen, they're usually coming in 50, 55%. And that is where the agencies will say to you, take it. They will start using the same fear tactics on you that your bank uses on you. They're going to say you're going to go on a charge off. You don't know if the next collection agent is going to bring this. They will encourage you to take that 50%. Remember, those ads said 46%, 43%, because they want you to take the lesser settlement amount to save you less money so they can make their commission, which is just as much whether you take it now or take it later, as quickly as possible. That is why they set your expectations where they do. Use an agency, the same example I've used, $100,000 in debt, settled at 50%. You as the borrower would pay the bank $50,000 and pay the agency approximately $20,000, which means your total payment is $70,000. In about 3 to 6 months, in this example, you've saved 30%. On their ad, they said expect 25%. They're actually telling you to expect less than I'm telling you with them. But as the CEO of the corporation of you, your best interest is served more by being patient, by taking more time, by negotiating longer, by learning what charge off is, by learning how that next collection agent is going to talk to you and knowing what's going to happen when they do to get the best you can for your family and take a little longer, 6 to 18 months to reach that average settlement of about 35%. Now on that $100,000 in debt, you've only paid the bank $35,000. You don't pay anything to an agency. And your total payment is $35,000. You have saved twice as much money in do-it-yourself debt settlement than you have using an agency, which is why agencies want you to hire them, because they want to make you think you can't do this by yourself to pay them the money that you can otherwise have for you. And I want to come and show you how to do it yourself.
You just gave me so much more confidence. Like, you just gave me a peace of mind, realized that this is a strategy.
It is a strategy. Just like bankruptcy is a strategy, debt settlement is a strategy. But it's just a strategy that bankruptcy attorneys don't want you to know because they're attorneys and they have to do it for you legally to go into court. You have to have an attorney, and agencies want to make you think like you have to have an agency do this for you, and you don't. When you learn debt settlement yourself, when you go through Debt Reduction Made Easy, and I teach you every secret that your banks and these agencies don't want you to know, you have fully empowered yourself to overcome all of this. How do you overcome the emotion of debt that would otherwise keep you in debt forever? Treat debt like a business. Let go of the emotion. Just go by the numbers and what's legal. How do you let go of worrying about your credit score? Know that your credit score can be used as a tool to save you far more money if you let go of the identity, personal attachment to your credit score that you've been taught to have by banks and through the media forever. And if you don't know about debt settlement, you think you can't do it, learn, get the information that will teach you how to do this better than your agency can. I've actually seen banks say they would rather have a person negotiate with them directly because they feel like if somebody has enough money to pay an agency, they have enough money to settle higher. When you go to them and say, I'm not using an agency because I can't afford their 25% fee, I need that money in my life, the bank knows that you are serious about needing to do this and will work with you more. You may not know Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson ran The Tonight Show, which has been, I think, is it Jimmy Fallon lately, or is that the other one? I can't get the late night ones come on, but I know Jay Leno ran it for years, 25 years. Johnny Carson was the original Tonight Show. And he used to do this thing called Karnak, where he would hold this envelope up to his head and go, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I don't know how to negotiate with a debt collector. They're all trained to do it. I know their scripts. I will show you what it looks like. I will teach you how to talk to them. I will teach you. Do not worry. It is all in there. You're thinking, I don't have enough money to make a settlement payment. I'm struggling to make my monthly payments right now. How am I going to save if I have $20,000 in debt? How am I going to save $7,000? If I have $50,000 in debt, how am I going to save $17,000? I will show you. There was a whole chapter in the video course about how to find money in your life that probably exists right now that you're just not looking at because you're just in your life paying money without going, where am I paying this money and how can I reclaim that money? I have so many different methods. I will show you how to build what I call your debt settlement fund. You may be thinking, I heard you can get sued. You can get sued. It is a tool in the toolbox that banks have to make you afraid and coerce you into giving them more money sooner in debt settlement or getting back onto regular payments. The good news is I got sued twice, which means I learned what a lawsuit meant. I learned what that summons feels like. I learned what to do when you get it. And I will tell you, while I got sued twice, and I have had a few, not many, a few clients get sued, none of them have ever gone to court. Forget about having a judgment against them in court. Forget about the down the line things of like bank levies and all that stuff that are so scary. None of my readers or clients have ever gone to court. Why? Because I show them how to negotiate a settlement even after getting sued before going to court. I settled out both of my cards for, I think one was around 50%. One was even still down in the 30% after I got sued because I learned that you can still settle after, but it's just a tool that the bank has to get you to settle, and you can still settle after going to court and have the lawsuit dismissed. All of that is in the course. Will this work if I'm married? Yes. there are variances. I've had married couples whose cards are completely separate and treated separately. I've had married couples who take out cards together. They're treated together. I've had married couples who one person takes out a card, but the other person co-signs for it. It all applies to all of that. Will it work on business debt? There are some variances. However, unless you are a full-on corporation that you are just an officer of, and the loan that was taken out was a corporate loan, in which case debt settlements is a little different. Now you're negotiating with your bank to restructure your debt. If you are an individual business owner, your credit cards likely have a personal guarantee on them, meaning while you may call it a loan for your business, your bank doesn't see it as a business loan. Your bank sees it as a personal loan to you that you signed a personal guarantee for, which means it's not business debt, it's personal debt, and you can negotiate it. I took out loans for my business venture, but they had personal guarantees, which means they were personal debt, and I settled on them. Will it work at my particular bank? So the best I can say here is I have not done or with through my clients seen this done with every bank that there is. There are thousands and thousands of banks, regional banks all over the place. I have done this with most of the major US banks, Wells Fargo and Chase and Bank of America and all the names that you know. And my clients have done this with other banks, Discover and American Express, and most of the banks that you know, and I have always seen it happen. Are you with some bank that might be the outlier who really says we don't do it and they don't do it? I can't say for sure. But in my experience, every bank that me or any of my clients have ever had loans with have always gone through this process and the same way. And part of the process is they may start off saying, we don't do it. I had banks when I started the process say, we don't do settlements. But you know what? A couple months later, suddenly they do settlements at a high percentage. And a couple months later, now they do settlements at a lower percentage because they all want to reclaim money from borrowers that they otherwise might lose entirely through bankruptcy. So the best I can say is, in my experience, I have not yet seen a bank that doesn't go through this, but I can't say for sure every bank because I have not had experience with every bank. It is all in the course. I promise you, every question you have is in the course. And if there are questions that you don't have, I'm going to give you, as we get a little bit forward towards the end here, the opportunity to ask them. Here's Jerry again.
As soon as you stop making the payments, then the phone calls start. You get a letter, started getting the letters from the actual creditors. And then later when they flipped them over to a collection agency, without your book and information, I wouldn't have known how to deal with them. What terminology to use, what things to ask for, what actions to take. So that book was so practical and it just gave me the tools.
It's all in there. So now I have a question for you. Does the idea that you can get out of debt quickly and save a ton of money, take control over your financial life, and feel confident and courageous about your future right now excite you? And I don't want you to answer that question through the lens of, oh, but I'm still afraid of my credit score, or oh, but I still don't know how to negotiate with debt collectors, or oh, this and oh, that. I want you to put away all the oh, this is and oh, that's for the moment, because all of that gets answered in the course. I just want you to answer just on a purely straight up basis. If you could learn how to really do this, does the idea that you can save 65% in principal and 100% of future interest and be out of debt in 6 to 18 months with courage and confidence excite you? I hope so. If so, I want you to say it. Say it out loud to yourself right now. You're on mute. Hopefully nobody's around you. If they are, who cares? Maybe it's your spouse or a friend, or say, I can get myself out of debt. Because your bank doesn't want you to believe that. Your bank doesn't want you to believe that you can get yourself out of debt. Debt reduction agencies do not want you to believe that. They want you to believe that only they can do it for you. Bankruptcy attorneys do not want you to believe this because their job is to have you hire them to do it for you. Everybody else, banks, credit card lenders, debt relief agencies, bankruptcy attorneys, they all want you to believe that you cannot get yourself out of debt any way other than they are providing. I am the only person coming and saying, you can do this yourself. You can get yourself out of debt. You can take control of your financial life. You can feel courageous and confident right now to go do this. And I want you to say it out loud. I can get myself out of debt and feel that. I want you to start believing it because you can, because I have done it. I was no different from you. I was worse off than you because I didn't have me telling me all this. Nicole has done it. Mark has done it. Jerry has done it. All those people whose emails, Thomas and Michael, they've all done it. You can do it.
He has this beautiful course. First, I have to tell you how grateful I am for that course. So he has this beautiful video course that he kind of walks you through it. And Kenny, you're great on camera. The way that you encourage, it's practical. It also speaks to emotional and mental health. I found it extremely complete. Like it was really comprehensive.
It is. It is so comprehensive. I really want to stress this. I really want to help you. I really want to help you. This is not a huge money-making venture. It's a little business and it's cool. I've been doing it for 15 years. I've written a couple books. I sell video courses. This is not Apple here making $1 trillion. I do this because I want to cut the national $1.2 trillion in credit card debt by half. I want people to let go of the fear they have around banks. I want them to stop having credit cards have a hold over them. I want to help you. And I'd like to take a few more minutes. I know we're coming towards the end here, a few more minutes to show you how I can. Is that okay? Stick around through all of this, through all of the learning that you've done about letting go of emotion, letting go of your attachment to your credit score, and learning debt settlement. Now I want to show you how I can really help you through debt reduction made easy. You can see here in this picture, it's books, it's the Do-It-Yourself Bailout, it's the debt reduction made easy guide, it's the video courses, I have spreadsheets, like there's so much here in this course. The videos are me. They're very much like this call that you've been on. It's me on camera with a lot of debt cards behind me. There's a lot of artwork through the entire video and videos and illustrations and text and data and numbers. All of that is in the video course. On a very high level, you're going to get every secret that banks and settlement agencies don't want you to know about settling credit card debt for far less than the amount owed. You're going to get a debt-free life. This is my promise to you. The same way the agency's little fine print there said, for people who go through the whole program and become debt-free. If you go through the whole program and follow the steps and settle your cards, you will be debt-free. And you're going to have all that money to put towards living your life. And you're going to And unlike the agency doing it for you, and unlike a bankruptcy attorney doing it for you, you are going to let go of the emotions of debt and develop the courage and confidence that will transcend your debt and now play a role in your finances to rebuild your financial life. And I also promise you transcend finances altogether. It was starting out in this work where I helped people let go of the painful emotions of debt that led me to start breakthrough leadership training and become a public speaker and become a leadership coach and an executive coach for the CEOs of major corporations who are not in debt and have never been in debt. But what I began teaching was that this methodology of letting go emotion to empower yourself applies in all areas of your life. You will develop the courage and confidence to transcend your finances and apply everywhere in your life. And stay tuned, of course, for the surprise discount. I'm going to take you through what these things cost when I created them, but a whole package price is coming together for you at the end of this. So the initial price I quote is not the price you're going to pay, but I want to show you what the value of all of this is. There are, I think, about a dozen videos in the course. There's a two-part one called The 6 Ways to Get Out of Debt. $147 is what I was charging for these videos as I made them and putting them out to my readers. Here's a video, here's a video, here's a video. So I go in depth around bankruptcy and agencies and statute of limitations and debt settlement really, really deeply. The top 5 fears of debt settlement, all of that fear of being judged and fear of judgment of others and talking to debt collectors. I go through those in a 2-part series. I talk about how you let go of the emotions of debt. There's this thing that I call Get Clear on Your Fear, where you really like dig deeply down to the very root fears that you can identify and let go of so you can be courageous and confident. There's a whole section on accounting and how to plan your personal accounting for debt settlement to get prepared for it. I talk about coming up with your debt settlement target amount and your debt settlement fund, all of that accounting we go through. There are strategy sessions. How many cards do you have? Do I pay off one card at a time? Do I pay off all of them? When do I stop paying? All of that. 2 full on strategy banking. I take you through the entire history of banking, like back 1,000 years and when money was created and why money has value and why credit was created and how credit has value as money. I teach you about how credit cards started in the 1950s and 60s. There weren't credit cards before the 1950s and 60s. I teach you about why credit cards came about and how they came about and what they were originally intended for, so that you start to get an idea of just how much your bank is treating you as a borrower like a business. I also take you through some of the history of the courts and how your Supreme Court passed a ruling that once said if a credit card company is charging a lower interest rate in their home state, but a borrower is another state where that state only allows interest to be charged at a lower rate, that actually this company in this state can charge their higher rate to a borrower who lives in another state, even though that state only allows lower rates, which basically means that they eliminated the ability for states to set interest rates in their own state, because they allowed banks from other states to charge higher interest from their state in the state where somebody else lived. This is your Supreme Court giving banks the ability to charge higher interest rate and make more money. I take you through the full history of banking and credit cards so you understand just how much they treat it like a business, so you can too. I take you through debt collectors and everything they will say to intimidate you to get back on regular monthly payments. I take you through negotiation strategies and all of those scripts. There's a whole video on lawsuits and what to do if that summons comes and how to get out of that lawsuit before you ever go to court. I take you through settlement agreements, those documents I showed you at the beginning, and what you need in them to protect yourself. I once settled out a debt with the bank, and then that agent left that company, and the new agent came onto my account and asked me to pay the additional balance. And I had that agreement to protect myself, to say, no, I don't owe you that anymore. I teach you how to protect yourself. I teach you how to make payments to protect yourself. I talk about credit repair, and once this is done, how to build your credit back. I talk about tax implications. I do want you to talk to your accountant. There are tax implications to debt settlement. I go through it all in the course. If you add up all of those $150 videos by all this, it's over $2,500 in value. Remember, that's not the final price. The surprise is coming. And I include so much with it. I include my original book, The Do-It-Yourself Bailout. I include the Debt Settlement Easy Business Plan book, where you can go through and look at the step-by-steps yourself. I include this spreadsheet, which I have to tell you, I'm so proud of. I learned Excel. I learned how to go into like back spreadsheets and make equations and all of this so that you could do that accounting section with such ease. It has columns for your income and your debts and your expensive and your credit cards and your interest rates, and you put all that in, and it automatically calculates for you what your settlement target amounts are and how much time it's going to take to save your fund. And then you can tweak your target amounts. If I pay 30% on this card and 42% on this card and 38% on this card, how much money do I have to save and how long will it take me? The spreadsheet's amazing. There's a full workbook. Many of the videos have things that you need to do, processes that you need to go through, your accounting, get clear on your fear, all of that. All of those are in the workbook, so they're really easy to do for yourself. So you get the video courses, the books, the settlement fund spreadsheet, the workbook. This method works for one account or many accounts. I had, I think, 8 accounts. It works whether you're current on your payments or delinquent. Works any lender. I put in parentheses, almost any lender, because there may be somebody out there, but I have not yet encountered one. Single or married, whether you're employed or not, if you lost your job, if you lost your business after divorce, or sometimes some of my readers, their spouse has passed away and they find out as a widow or widower that they have debts that they didn't even know about. Oh my gosh, what do I do now? Or it's for interest rate hikes, inflation that's going on. The only time this method doesn't work is if you don't do it. If you tell yourself, I can't do it, it's not going to work. If you start doing it and you quit, it's not going to work. If you don't go through the process cannot work. But in my experience, my readers, my clients, myself, everyone who has gone through the process has worked. Here's the thing about debt. It doesn't go away on its own. It's not like spraining your elbow, and if you just ice it for a few days, it's going to go away. It's not like getting a cold, and if you just wait for a week, it's going to go away. Debt does not go away on its own. The only options to get out of debt that you have likely been taught is pay, pray, or run away. And this method is new. Remember, do the thing you've always been doing. Do something new, a new way to get out of debt. It is a proven method for me, for so many of my readers and clients, for anyone who wants to get out of debt as quickly as possible, as economically as possible, where you have the control, not the court, not your bankruptcy attorney, not an agency, not your bank. You have the control. when you are willing to put in the time and effort and create that mindset of success, which I will help you do. So what are you going to save? You're going to save time. I have spent 15 years learning this, experiencing it, teaching, and accomplishing do-it-yourself debt settlement. I want you to take advantage of it so you can do it even faster than I did. It is going to save you money, even beyond the principal money savings that we talked about and the interest savings that we talked about. Let's say you went to a bankruptcy attorney and you said to that bankruptcy attorney, I want to know everything there is to know about debt settlement, and I'm going to pay you $500 to tell me. My video courses, you don't watch them all at once. It's not like a book, but I think they add up to about 12 hours. If that bankruptcy attorney took the same amount of time as I do to teach you everything that he or she knows, that would cost you about $6,000 at $500 an hour. Just the time that I spent. And I guarantee you, even if a bankruptcy attorney sat down with you for 12 hours, there is no way he or she would ever get all of the information that I get in. People talk and meander. It would take that person a month. It would be tens of thousands of dollars if an attorney taught you what I am going to teach you. It is going to save you mistakes, which cost you more time and more money. It's going to save you effort because I shine this light. It's like a dark tunnel of, oh my gosh, what do I do? And when I shine the light in the dark tunnel, you know what to do. That's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to save. What is it going to get rid of? Stress, pain, anxiety, doubt, fear, insecurity. I guarantee you, as you start watching the videos, you're going to go, oh, I don't need to feel all that. I have the knowledge that overcomes doubt and fear and builds courage and confidence. You're going to start feeling better, so much better about your life, even before you settle the debt. Just going through the process. It's going to save you your minimum monthly payments. You're going to have that money to put back into your life. It's going to save you your credit card debt. You're going to get all of this, the total value all put together, $2,600, but I'm not charging you any of that because I'm so happy that you are here with me today. I am so grateful that you are here with me today at this webinar, that you've taken time out of your life, that I am going to give you options to do all of this for so much less. So I have two options in Debt Reduction Made Easy. One option is just the video course. You just buy the video courses and digest them yourself and go through the process. I've had many people do that. And another option is, in addition to the video course, I have a once a month mentoring call where you can come on the call with me, other people. It's a Q&A, ask questions. I don't deliver the material on the calls. That's done in the video course, but you get that anchoring. You get to come in and say, hey, I do have a question. Here's my specific situation, or share wins. Hey, I did this, or hear wins, and get that encouragement to build the community. With the video course, you get all the videos, the workbooks, the spreadsheets, the books, all of that. You have lifetime access. This is not like rent a movie on Prime and it goes away in 2 hours. Once you buy it, they're yours forever. You get a private membership area with a login. You go into the login. All the videos are there in the membership area. All the workshops are there. Workbooks are there in the membership area. The books are there in the membership area for you to have access to forever. You are buying them forever. It's self-guided. Normal value, $2,600. One time, if you purchase them, the package price is $797, but stay tuned. If you stay to the end, I'm going to give you even more off of that. So even that's not going to be your price. But that is what if you bought all the videos separately, would have been $2,600. I package it all together, $800. And if you do the subscription, you get all of that and this once a month group mentoring call. So now your normal value is all of that. I put the $750 a month in there because I am now an executive coach and I charge $750 for a 1 hour session with somebody, but that's not your price. All of that together, if you subscribe to the monthly mentoring, I give you 50% off the video. So if today you say, I want the video and I want the monthly mentoring, you basically get 2 months of mentoring for free because you're getting the video for $400 off. And this is where I want to bring in your surprise discount. Remember I told you about that surprise discount? Because you join me today, I want to give you another 50% off. That's how grateful I am for you spending this time with me. So if you want to purchase the videos, just the videos today, $398. And if you want to get into the monthly mentoring, those videos will only cost $198. I can't even it's beyond like $198. That's 30 minutes of a lawyer's time to give you 12 hours of information about debt settlement. It's like it's beyond the value and the information you're going to get. Even if you don't do it, even if you don't go through debt settlement and you choose bankruptcy or you choose to hire an agency, the empowerment that you will have knowing everything that I teach you will help you move through those processes more courageous and more equipped, or see what they're doing and know that you know more than them and come back to this. And you get 50% off the monthly, $98 a month. Think about this for a second. If you really do settle out your debt in 6 to 18 months at $100 a month is $1,800, and $200 for the video, it's $2,000 total. If it takes you 6 to 18 months to settle all your debt, and then run the numbers on that 65% and the 100% more in interest, and think about how much you're going to save in your life for a $2,000 investment in you to get all the information that I've developed over 15 years and that hundreds of other people have already used. If you're ready to get started, go to www.debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. I'll leave that up there for a second for you. www.debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. You can go type that into a URL. And then the first page will be enter your name and your email address. You click submit, and then it'll take you to a second page with this little radio button. You'll get to choose just the videos or the videos and the mentoring. And under that is a coupon box. And you put in this code, training special 50, training special 50, and it will take that 50% off. You'll see the $797 and $398 plus $197 a month at first. And then when you enter the training special 50 code and hit apply, you'll see it drop down to $398 for the video one time forever, or $198 for the video one time forever, and $98 a month. So now I want to ask you a question. If all this did, if you got debt reduction made easy and all this did, how much debt do you have? If I'm going to use the lowest possible amount as a value, $10,000. So we got forget about the $100,000 example, $10,000, which is the minimum that you'll need to have for an agency to take you. If you have a $10,000 balance and you're struggling with it, if that $10,000 is difficult in your life for you, and you settle at 35%, saving $6,500 in principal balance and another $10,000 in future interest, a total savings of $16,500, would that be worth investing $198 and $98 a month to learn how to do it? Say it took you the whole 18 months and you spent 18 months and you were debt free in 18 months and invested $2,000 in yourself to save $16,500. Is that worth it? I think so. That's like an 800% return on your investment. I challenge you to go find any investment out there that says in 18 months, we're going to give you an 8x investment. But I'm saying to you, if you invest $2,000 over the next 18 months and have the lowest possible credit card balance, $10,000 that you want to settle, I'm telling you that you're going to get, if you go through the process, you're going to get an 8x return on your investment, and that's at a $10,000 credit card balance. If you have $15,000, $25, $50, $100, it's the same $1,800. A debt settlement agency is going to say, we're going to charge you $2,500 to settle out your $10,000 debt, but we're going to charge you $25,000 to settle out your $100,000 debt. They don't just charge you a fee that's flat. I'm not charging you more if you have $100,000 in debt or $1 million in debt. It's the same $2,000 investment over the next 18 months to go do it yourself. So what is your amount of debt? And when you look at it and you calculate that 65% balance reduction and that 100% in future interest reduction, and you're debt free in 6 to 18 months, and all the stress and fear and anxiety that comes along this side, is that worth making this investment now? If you believe it is, go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started, enter that training special 50 code at checkout to get 50% off, to learn every secret that your banks and agencies do not want you to know about getting out of debt as quickly as possible for as least as possible. Go do that now. And then I'm back to where we started. We started with, you have two choices. You always have two choices. You can keep doing what you're doing. If you've seen this whole presentation from me and you want to keep making your minimum monthly payment or whatever monthly payment you're making at full interest and pay it off in full, you have that option. If you want to pray to make more money, remember, pay, pray, or run away. Some windfall comes in, you have that option. If you want to run away, the total avoidance or handing it over to the bankruptcy court, turning your financial life over to the bankruptcy court, you have that option. That also exists for you. But before you go those routes, you now also have the option of something else, because there is no way out of debt other than choosing something. And if you don't choose Life will choose for you. Most people do what's called default to the status quo. They just go to the thing they've been doing because doing something else takes effort. If the status quo for you is pay it off in full, go get your credit card statement, this month's credit card statement, and look on the front of it where it says if you make the minimum monthly payment, it will take you however many years it will take you to pay it off and how much interest you're going to pay. Your credit card statement will tell you how long it's going to take to pay off your card, 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and how much interest you will pay. And if you want to default to that status quo, you can. Or you can do something new. You can invest in yourself. You can acquire the knowledge that I am offering that overcomes the fear and builds the confidence to create a new future. So I really ask you, why not try? And now people come and say, well, this is why I won't try. What if the video course doesn't work and then I've lost my $398? I offer a 14-day guarantee. Truly, get the video course today. Go watch it for 2 weeks. You can watch the whole thing for 2 weeks if you want. And if you look at it and you go, this just isn't for me, it's not of the quality that Kenny promised, I don't think it's going to work, you send me an email, I'll refund your money. I want to help you. So that goes away. The whole if the video course doesn't work thing goes away because I'm giving you a money back guarantee. And then they say, well, what if the mentoring doesn't work and I lose my $98 a month? So I offer a 50% offer, which means if you go through this program, I'm going to say the same 24-month outside time there that debt settlement agency's card said. If you go through this program, if you attend the coaching sessions, if you do the work, I guarantee you that at least one of your cards will offer you at least a 50% reduction, which means I'm guaranteeing you the minimum that a debt relief agency is guaranteeing you, or I will continue coaching you for free until they do. I don't want to say never because I want to open myself up to some extraordinarily weird possibility, but truly, you will get these offers and you will see that your investment is going to pay off 8-fold, 10-fold, 20-fold so quickly. Basically, that means no 5-figure fee to an agency, just this investment in yourself, which is so very low. So now you don't have this one anymore either if the mentoring doesn't work, because I'm guaranteeing you will save money. You've really got nothing to lose except your credit card debt. And by the way, nobody has ever asked for their money back. It's never happened because I really want you to get out of debt. Will you help me do that? This is my favorite thing. Me help you. Help me help you. Make this investment in yourself so that I can help you the way I have Nicole and so many other
I'm
people.
really grateful for you, Ken, and I really am. You've been my guide through this process, and at first it was scary, but just having your voice in my head while I'm in these calls is priceless. It really just truly is, and I will tell you that it's worth every single penny. And because you're doing debt settlement, you can't charge a really large thing because you're getting people out of debt, and it feels like a bit of a labor of love, and it is. And I'm very grateful for it.
I hope it has come across. I love this work. I love helping people get out of credit card debt. I really do. I started off with who this is for. Anyone struggling with credit card debt. If that's you, this is for you. Anyone looking for the fastest, cheapest way to get out of credit card debt. If that's you, this is for you. And I said at the beginning, if you're not sure, just stay and listen and learn and see. If you know this isn't for you, if you are saying, I still want to go with full payment, or I want to hire an agency and pay their fee, or I want to file bankruptcy, I want to thank you for your time and listening. I told you there'd be a free gift. The free gift is I'm going to give you my debt negotiation spreadsheet. So go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/free-DRME-spreadsheet. I'm going to leave that up for just a second. Take a screenshot if you haven't got it. Go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/free-DRME-spreadsheet, and you enter your email address and you'll get the debt reduction spreadsheet just for you, that you can still go through all your finances and have it calculate for you what debt reduction would look like. And maybe then you'll come and say, hey, I want to do this, or at least you'll know that if you go to an agency. If this is for you, if you have listened to me for the last hour and a half and said, this is for me, I am ready to treat debt like a business and be the CEO of the corporation of me. I'm ready to let go of the painful emotions of debt and stop struggling and suffering through fear and doubt and stress and shame and guilt and anxiety, or whatever your suffering is now, not 8 years from now when I've paid off my debt, but now. And you're ready to take control of your financial life in a way that empowers you to take control of your entire entire life moving forward. Get started now. Please go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. You'll see the video course there, one time for $398. Well, to say $797 when you enter the training special 50 code. It'll drop to $398, or the radio button there for the video course and mentoring. It'll say the $398 for the video course and $197 a month for mentoring. When you enter the training special 50 code and hit apply, it's going to drop down to $398 one-time purchase forever for the video course, or $198 one-time purchase forever for the video course, and $98 a month for mentoring, which means your in today is just $300 to get started. I promise you, I gave you my guarantees. I'll give you your money back on the video course. I'll stay with you until you get the debt settlement that I promise you will get. This process worked. It has worked for me. It has worked for hundreds of my readers, dozens of my clients. They've saved millions of dollars collectively. Please take choice number 2. Empower yourself to take control of your financial life. And with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. We went a little overtime, so we didn't get to the Q&A today. You'll see the email address there, support@thedoityourselfbailout.com. If you still have questions, please email me at support@thedoityourselfbailout.com so that I can answer them. I look forward to seeing you in the mentoring courses. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time today. Go have a wonderful, amazing breakthrough day, as I like to say, and let's get you out of debt as quickly as possible and have you save as much money as possible. Go have a great day.